Joe Flacco is 50-50, and the Bengals are taking up on the Bears. Coming up next on the Cincinnati podcast. Coming up on the Cincinnati podcast.
Hello, world. Cincinnati. You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.
Welcome to the Cincinnati podcast. I'm Ace, he's Zim, here to talk about all things Bengals and preview the Bears' upcoming matchup. Before we get into it, Zim, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. Back to what we always do, talking ball. I feel good, ready to go. I think I have it's a lot of topics that I'm just like seeing on, like, I don't know if it's like Bengals Twitter. I just feel like I'm so like out of the loop, or I'm in the minority on so many subjects. So I just be like kind of observing and seeing how everything's going. The thing I can't get over is this Joe Flacco situation that is like at the forefront of everything for me. I feel like Joe Flacco is giving us life when I thought our season was like pretty much cooked. Jake Browning made it very disinteresting to watch football for me. And I think basketball was starting at the same time and everything like that. And I don't know. It just was like I was not as interested as I normally was. Joe Flacco playing as well as he has given me so much different perspective on him, everything. And to now see, I guess we'll talk about it, I guess, right now. To now see Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, I watched this dude get it's just so crazy. Like, as a Bengal fan, you do not get context for anything. And it makes me so mad. And everybody said that Flacco was going to get hurt, but the Bengals offensive line actually does what they're supposed to do with Joe Flacco. This dude gets sacked one time. I get it, he's 45 years old or whatever, however it is. But he gets sacked one time, the first time that we've had any bit of semblance of an offensive line. And, bro, it's got a hurt shoulder. Like, I hate it, bro. Like, I feel like that for the first time they kind of put together a game plan on the offensive line, and it actually looks okay. And you're the number one in the month of October. The Bengals are the number one rushing efficiency team in the NFL. Or you have a run game. And bro is 50-50 with an AC joint sprain. Insane.
Yep, Joe Flacco suffered the injury to the AC joint in his right shoulder late in the game. It left him unable to practice Wednesday, which had a lot of people questioning whether or not that he's going to play against the Bears. Zach Taylor was quoted as saying, "We'll work through the week. We've got a plan in place. We just have to see what he can do physically during the week." I think right now it's 50-50 on what will end up on Sunday. So this happened, as we said, on being sacked the only time in the Jets game, the next to the last offensive series. He ended up leaving the field, going to the locker room, but he did return and play that final Bengals drive in which they turned the ball over on downs. After the game, Flacco said that the shoulder didn't affect him on the final drive. Taylor said if Flacco could play, he still could play if he doesn't take any practice reps. So obviously we saw what happened in Lamar Jackson. Those practice reps have to happen in a certain stature. So that's something to take into account. But going from, Joe Flacco kind of looking like he was going to save the season to possibly facing the Bears team with Jake Browning, yeah, bro. Like, I think we're honestly cooked if Jake Browning is playing that game. The only chance I feel like we have a win in that game is if Joe Flacco plays in that game, just based off of what I've seen from Jake Browning this season. And I was a Jake Browning believer early on, but after we saw Jake Browning, I just don't know what that looks like. So obviously the Flacco injury to me it has huge ramifications on the season. Not only is it Flacco, Trey Hendrickson is also out of practice this week as well. So hoping that we can get both of those guys because they are key points of the offense and the defense from what they do from that standpoint. Got some super chats here. Fuzzy says any team with a healthy T. Higgins that gives him 0 targets in the second half doesn't deserve to win. T has been converting clutch first downs for years. I don't know I don't know if they didn't call plays for T. Higgins. I don't know if, Joe Flacco just didn't look his way or what happened. I don't know what happened with that, but that was crazy.
That eye in the sky never lies. The replay on that, the joint where he goes to Yoshi and T is like wide open at the sticks. Like, I know that's what I was saying on last show. It's like very popular. I'm part of it. Like, just trash the defense. I get it, but it just makes me mad when I see certain opportunities like that we could have had. And I think T. Higgins in that spot, and even the whole second half, especially, the fourth quarter, they weren't quite humming like they were throughout the whole game. Like, you got to go to the $30 million guy at that spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got to go to T. Higgins more than 2 times in that game and in that spot. Ben Riley said how much we winning by this week. Score predictions. I can't give you a score prediction, bro, without knowing who the quarterback is personally. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure at this standpoint. It's Wednesday as we're recording this, so Flacco still has Thursday and Friday, maybe even Saturday, to try to get some reps in. So I think I would have more of an idea if tomorrow we see if he starts to ramp it up, or Friday we see if he starts to ramp it up. I think that's going to let you know exactly where they are with him. Some people are on Twitter are saying like they just think that he's going to get painkillers before the game and he'll play through it. Like some people imagine that he could get some before the game at halftime. So
let me ask you this before we get into the game like breakdown and stuff. No score prediction, but do you think that the Bengals have a chance with Joe Flacco playing quarterback, playing this Bears team?
Oh yeah, they always have a chance. I think with Joe Flacco for sure.
Okay.
The defense has to play better, but with Joe Flacco, I think they have a chance. With Jake Browning, that chance is slim. Like I don't know. I feel like with Joe Flacco, they have a chance for sure.
That game, I just was doing I know you do your AFC North show. I was doing the AFC North show I'm on, Roundtable, and last week was so major. It low key, like everybody talks about the Patriots game last year. I always talk about that Chiefs game. That 4th and 16, like to me was you had it. You had him right where you wanted. It's Mahomes' worst game ever as a pro. Bengals defense, as bad as we talked about the Bengals, they look actually pretty good that day against him. And you lose that game in that fashion. And I really thought that it just changed the whole trajectory of the season. We were always playing from behind. And then looking across at the Ravens, had they lost their game and gone 1-6, we would. I don't think I would be feeling any type of way. I might even be telling you like I don't even care. Jake Browning could play. I think we could walk down everybody with Flacco and a potential Burrow coming up, which is still possible. But it just changed so much. We had the greatest shot, and the Steelers playing the Colts this upcoming week. We had everything right there in front of us, and we blew the most golden opportunity with that loss.
Yeah, that was a big loss for the Bengals. They definitely, it's crazy. They ended up having a defensive players only meeting. After that meeting, Mike Pennell asks for his release. Today at practice, we got them.
How did you feel about that?
I don't know. Like Mike Pennell asked for his release and you granted to him, and you got to know that he's going back to the Chiefs. So I think when I hear that after a players only meeting and people are jumping ship, I just don't know. I don't know if he has faith that the Bengals can turn the defense around. I don't know if he was a double agent from the get-go and just didn't really want to be a Bengal anyway. I mean, this opens the door, I guess, now to McKinley Jackson having to play. I don't think they have an alternative. He's been a healthy scratch, so now he's going to get to play. I just think that that's wild. Like, as a veteran, the oldest guy on the team, and you, like, quit on the team. Like, I get it. He's done more with the Chiefs or whatever, but I just
Yeah.
don't see a Mike Daniels. Like Mike Daniels came on here and kind of talked about you need some of those personalities, those dog personalities in there. And if you're the oldest guy in the room and you're abandoning ship, like I don't know. Like that's
I
just
I
crazy.
I never looked at him. That was an interesting perspective because I didn't look at it like that. When he was asked for his release, this is the part where it's going to sound a little bit different. I thought last year the Bengals did a horrible job of replacing DJ Reader with Sheldon Rankins and no contingencies, right? And then you had a rookie McKinley Jackson, rookie Chris Jenkins and stuff and company, right? Versus this season, I could see what they were trying to cook. It's just raw, like nothing got cooked, right? So you say, okay, I got Miles Murphy. That would be the thing. Like let's just put it like we're living in like how rough it looks right now. But before the season, it actually is a pretty good plan when you think about it in its totality. I know that there are a lot of content creators now saying, "Oh, you got, what did you think that? Like, what did you think was going to happen? These guys suck." But hear me out. You had Miles Murphy. That's not a sack guy, right? He's a replacement for Sam Hubbard. Supposed to be a run defensive specialist. You draft Shamar Stewart. That's supposed to be super disruptive. You also sign Osai, which is supposed to be like your other pass rusher that maybe gives you 3 to 4 sacks, right? Then you had Trey Hendrickson, probably the best closer in all of football. You're not thinking Trey Hendrickson is going to be hurt, hobbled, which I think could have affected the Steelers game a lot. I thought he could have affected the Jets game a lot later in that game, and I think we win if Trey Hendrickson plays. But Shamar Stewart is supposed to be disruptive as a running mate, and Miles Murphy takes that next step. In the middle, you sign Slayton, Chris Jenkins, and BJ Hill, right? Those 3 guys, the difference was in 2024, they didn't have any contingency plans. To me, I thought that was decent depth because I'm also missing what's the bro name? I'm missing somebody else too. But you had that interior on paper before the season. That's not a bad plan. Mike Pennell would have been is another guy that was like giving you another run stuffing ability. And you're like, okay, this is a contingency in case one of these guys get hurt. None of these guys get hurt. Chris Jenkins never becomes a pass rusher, never runs. You know what I mean? He's just a run stopper, what he was in college. And so he's never developed into that. So Mike Pennell is now looking at a roster where I don't know if y'all watched this, but the last couple of weeks, he's had his snaps drastically reduced. So now he's looking at a room with 3 guys. BJ Hill is not giving you no rush. He's stopping the run. He's giving you a little bit of rush. But Chris Jenkins and Slayton are doing the same exact thing that Pennell is doing, just stopping the run or supposed to be stopping the run. And then I think he's looking at it like, bro, like I'm almost out the league. I'm about to just be sitting there behind these guys and they're all healthy. And that's the weird part about the whole thing to me. Is like the Bengals had some kind of a plan. It's not the greatest plan. There aren't that many free agent guys that want to do what we want them to do 3-tech wise, right? So you would have had to make a trade or something for it. And the fact that Slayton's out there, I just think the Mike Pennell thing was just like a depth thing when I think somebody was banged up a little bit and it worked out for a couple of weeks. But I didn't take it that personal. I always looked at him like a Chief. Like I feel like if you're a Chief fan or you're coming from the Chiefs, like you just know that the Bengals are the one chink in your armor. So the disdain for the Bengals just lives subconsciously in the back of your mind. That's just how I feel. I feel like we're all human. So I never looked at him like a Bengal anyway. He can take his ass back to Kansas City for all I care.
Yeah, I think somebody said that Chris Jones had said something in the interview about needing him back there. And then, he asked for his release. I mean, it is what it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens going forward. But Bengals defense is definitely looking at themselves in the mirror to try to figure out what they can do to turn things around. Because, I mean, the performance they had against the Jets was just bad. So we'll see how they bounce back from that standpoint. Looking at the game, though, they got the Bears coming in. The Bears are coming off of a loss against the Baltimore Ravens and Snoop Huntley. Now they play this Bengals team. They're coming in at 4-3. So I believe they had won 3 or 4 in a row. Then they just took that L there. I'm talking about a team overall on PFF that is ranked 13th. Offense is 12th. Defense is 20th. Special teams, they're ranked first. It really starts with Caleb Williams, right? They do have some injuries as it stands right now, especially at the wide receiver position. So we'll have to monitor how that kind of goes. Obviously, with this just being Wednesday, we have to continue to monitor that and see where that goes. But DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and I believe another one of the receivers are currently not practicing. So they've got guys with concussions. They got guys with other injuries right now. So it's kind of hard to say who's going to be out there for them. But obviously, offensively, this is a Bengals team that's going to need to stop an offense before the Ravens game that was somewhat hot. When you look at their scoring and stuff like that, they were top 10 in the league in scoring. They were 12th, I believe, on the road. This game is going to be in Cincinnati. But we didn't see any of that against the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens held them to 16 points. Before that, they were kind of scoring and doing their thing. It seems like Caleb Williams struggled a little bit in that previous game. If you're going to beat this team, this defense is going to have to take advantage of Caleb Williams' ups and downs. They're going to have to try to limit the big plays. They're going to have to get pressure when it comes to the Bears. So the issue with that is the Bears' offensive line has actually been pretty good this year in terms of not allowing too many sacks or pressures from that standpoint. So that's something that the Bengals are going to be challenged to do. And I think it goes without saying, it's pretty obvious that the tackling has to be better because these little plays that they can limit end up becoming big explosive plays because there's missed tackles here and there. So for me, I would say that you have to take advantage of the ups and downs of Caleb Williams. You got to be able to stop the run. I mean, DeAndre Swift is having a pretty solid season for them. Obviously, they let Breece Hall and Isaiah, whatever the dude's last name is, take off on them last week. You got to limit the run. From your standpoint, how are you seeing this game break down from the Bengals defense with the Bears offense?
That was key because the crazy thing is I've been studying a lot of the Bears defense. The offense, I will prepare if I'm the Bengals, like all them guys are going to play. I feel like this is the most unlucky season of all time. Last season was, and now, whatever. Also, I want to remind everybody, if you're on Twitter watching this, please make sure you come on over to YouTube to the Cincinnati Pod. We appreciate the subscribers. Also, we want you to be a part of the chat. Make sure you get in there and say your piece in there as well. But offensively, I do think that DJ Turner has a matchup that he has to win, and it's Roma Dunze. Last week, Rome, I thought, was cooking Wiggins in the beginning of that game. Wiggins makes some plays later on, gets the interception that Caleb Williams kind of gift wraps them in a tight game at that spot, and I thought it broke open the game. Ravens had a couple things bounce in their favor for sure. I think Caleb Williams has cut down on a lot of the mistakes that he was making last year, but he's still not flawless, right? And so I think that Ben Johnson has been smart enough to get the ball out quicker. The offensive line, like you pointed out, has been playing really well. So remember, Chiefs lost Joe Thuney this all season. He's on the Bears. So like guys like that, that's a big time player that nobody ever talks about anybody else losing players, but they lost that player. He's been playing pretty well with the Bears. Moving forward, I think that the Bengals do need to make sure that they stop Swift first. And they just need to finish out for 4 quarters. I feel like Justin Fields is a tougher cover from a running standpoint than Caleb Williams is. I think Caleb Williams can make some throws that 1,000% Justin Fields can't make. So I think the responsibilities in this game are a little bit more different. Like I said, DJ Turner has to be what everybody's saying he is. He doesn't even have to be at all-pro level. He has to be good enough to take on the task of Roma Dunze. These guys are going to try to test him. DJ Moore, if he plays, that's another guy. I would shade coverage over that way. I think if the Bengals keep the game close or they have a lead, I do think Caleb Williams will give us some opportunities on the back end to go and make something happen. And more importantly than anything on earth is, I don't know if y'all saw this in the reports and stuff today, just tackle, bro. Like even if they're giving up third down after third down, just continue to tackle. And I know it's part of complimentary football. Maybe the Bengals have longer drives on offense or whatever, but try to keep the defense fresh, put them in big spots. We know what they are. They're not even a middle-of-the-pack defense. They're probably the worst defense in the NFL currently as it stands. There are worse pass defenses in the NFL like the Steelers, but we're really close. So we're awful at that. And I think part of it is just how they haven't been able to finish some of these games and the games that they put themselves in some bad spots. The Bears are one of the best turnover ratio teams in the NFL, if not the best, if my memory doesn't mistake me. So you cannot have turnovers like you did in the Vikings game, especially if Jake Brown is going to be playing.
Yep, and defensively, they decided to add Gardner Johnson this week. So it's interesting to see if he'll play or not. But they got Chris Byrd, they got Brisker at the safety position. They also have Wright and Jones at the corners. You got Edmonds and Edwards at the linebacker position. When it comes to the corners, we already know, like, you got to get targets to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Noah Fant could be somebody that could be big in this game. You got to be able to protect the quarterback, which the Bengals offensive line has really been able to do with Flacco because he has the pocket presence and the awareness to be able to get the ball out of there very quickly. So we'll see what happens from that standpoint. Me personally, at wide receiver 3, Yoshi has had an up and down year. I wouldn't mind them possibly looking at Burton. Doesn't seem like they're going to do that, but I mean, Jermaine Burton has to account for something there. And the fact that they haven't used Burton with Joe Flacco's arm is a little crazy. I mean, we're not going to see Charlie Jones there. Charlie Jones has not been a factor on this team. Yoshi hasn't been a huge factor. We haven't gotten much from anybody else. I mean, Tinsley has the one lone touchdown, I think, from that position. So I don't know what they're going to do, but offensively, this goes with Joe Flacco and those receivers. If Joe Flacco isn't there, I don't know what the game plan is for Jake Browning at the quarterback position. But the one thing that I will say is Chase Brown has been running the ball well, along with Samaje Perine. So maybe they start to lean a little bit more on that run game to help open up the offense like it has been. I mean, this is an offense that scored 30 points 2 games in a row with Flacco at the helm. I think that they could possibly continue that. But they definitely a big matchup in this one is going to be Amarius Mims versus Montez Sweat. He's going to have to keep him away from Joe Flacco or whoever is at quarterback for the Bengals. So I think when you look at the defense, the Bears defense is solid, but I think that the Bengals offense can definitely do their thing against that defense like that. What are your thoughts on the Bengals offense versus that Bears defense?
I actually had a really good call with a couple of my Bears partners, actually. And I've been getting information on them throughout the season. And I've kind of studied a lot of the different moves that they were making once they got Ben Johnson and stuff. But Ryan Poles, like I want, maybe this is a perspective that Bengals fans need to hear. This is I want to give y'all a lot of good info that I've been kind of getting from Bears like throughout the season. So Ryan Poles is currently looking at like how we're looking at Duke Tobin right now. He's in a really crazy position where everybody's like, what are you doing here, bro? One of the things that I do think is going on, and the main problem that Bears are having as a unit is the same thing that we're complaining about with the Bengals. It's the pass rush. Their pass rush win rate is one of the lowest in the National Football League. Grady Jarrett and Montez Sweat have been doing their thing. Grady Jarrett did have a good interior rush. I think it was Sweat that cleaned up that sack. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the Ravens game. But the pass rush has been very underwhelming. Even Montez Sweat has been, by their fans' account, very underwhelming. Their pass rush win rate is amongst the lowest in the NFL right now. Javon Dexter last week had a 0.0. The big money guy that they spent $18 million. So people say, let's go sign a pass rusher. Let's go get a guy or whatever. Let me tell you about the Bears has spent $18 million per year on Dio Odingbo or whatever bro's name is. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but it's $18 million per year. He also has been very, very underwhelming. He had 0.0 pass rush win rate last week. Also, Shamar Turner, who is another guy that they were counting on. He had a 0.0 pass rush win rate as well last week as well. He also was hurt in that game, and he's now on IR. There's also, and Javon Dexter's been kind of hit or miss in some spots. Dominique Robinson is a guy, I think he got dinged up in that game too. They've been kind of counting on him as well. But their pass rush has been very underwhelming. And like I said, the guy that they signed, he had 8 sacks last year. This year, he only has 1. And their fan base is very upset, like how we are about Shamar Stewart. The pass rush is non-existent so far this season for the Bears. So if Flacco does play, I do think the Bengals will have a lot of success on offense against them passing the football. Why? Because the pass rush goes hand in hand with the DB injuries. So now Kyler Gordon is now on IR again. Stevenson currently right now is out, supposed to be out for a couple of weeks as well too. The guy Wright is his last name. He was filling in for them early in the season and he was cool, but now that Gordon and Stevenson and all these guys are out, and then they're all pro Jalen Johnson, he's been on IR the whole season. So their secondary is very banged up. And I know that people probably aren't thinking Bengals can do anything right now, but I say that to say that the Bears are reeling the same way that you're kind of reeling. Yes, they went on the streak. That was a bad loss that they had from the Ravens. Remember, the Ravens defense didn't really – the Ravens defense hadn't been playing well all year. The Rams game that, you could say that the Rams only scored 17 points, but Devontae Adams dropped the touchdown. They had another scooping score that was turned – Rams could have scored 30 points in that game against the Ravens. So to hear that the Bears really aren't cooking right now and the defense is super banged up, the wide receivers now banged up, I think is another thing too that Ace just pointed out. But I will say that both of these teams are in a weird spot. The Bengals are in a bad spot. We're coming off the worst loss of the season. Bears coming off a loss where they look pretty bad, and they are looking for their GM to go get them a pass rusher. They want Trey Hendrickson. They want all of these guys like how we want pass rushers because it's been non-existent. They gave Tyler Huntley so much time last week and barely put any pressure on him throughout the whole entire game, and they are livid about it, just like we are. And I think the Bengals having their week of whatever they did and now tackling drills and all that stuff like that, maybe if they step up, whatever, we can catch the Bears while they're reeling. I didn't have high hopes coming into this game, but doing some deep dive into like what they got going on with their secondary and their pass rush currently right now and the injuries that have mounted up on them, I do think if Joe Flacco plays in this game, I think the Bengals got a good shot to put up the same numbers that they have been putting up offensively. The question is, will the defense make the stop at the end of the game that they have failed to make last year in key matchups, whether it was the Chiefs game, whether it was the Chargers game, whether it was all those games where the defense did not make the stop at the end, we failed to close out. The offense comes back on the field, they fail to close out. To me, I think the same thing is happening every single week for the last year.
Got another super chat here from Dolores Cole. Jake might play with a chip on his shoulder. It could happen. It could, bro. That Jake Brown, and I don't know. We've seen a lot of that. Wanted to talk about a lot of people have been talking about the Shamar Stewart pick on Twitter. He has not lived up to what Bengals expectations were of him. Right now, he's got, no sacks on the season. I think he has 1 tackle. Obviously, he missed several games. What are your thoughts on Shamar Stewart and the pick that the Bengals made thus far?
It's an awful pick. I think that he's a project. I think that it's very early in the season. He's the type of player, if you had other guys around him, he would cook. I really believe that. I think like all the miscues, all the like craziness, like think about in the Jets game early in the game when we were up 10-0 and guys were flying around. And if they look like that, I think Shamar Stewart would, like when they got the 4th down stop, I think that those are the things that he would be disruptive on and cook up. But the Bengals defense is not like that. And so what it becomes is now he's forced to be in a role that he was never ready for anyway. And I think it goes hand in hand with Myles Murphy. Myles Murphy was supposed to take that Sam Hubbard step, give us 6-8 sacks minimum, right? And he hasn't. And I think that that's the real killer, is like that first round pick not really doing what it's supposed to. Now is trickling over to Shamar Stewart. Now you were cooking the Bengals front office and people were like, yeah, get him, Shamar. Yeah, you idiot, you forgot you're a rookie and you've never played football before. So this standoff that everybody was applauding, you look like an idiot now. You look like you could have used that extra month. You really do. And I don't know if that would have made him better or not, but it just goes to show you, like, he was a raw talent to begin with. He's not, he has no finish, he has no finished moves, has nothing that he could do currently actively to get on the NFL roster and be able to dominate at any faction without other people around him cooking. And the loss of Trey Hendrickson being banged up, it's like a domino effect. All of those things happening all at once. And then also couple that with the expectation that you would get a little bit of pass rush from Chris Jenkins, and you've got none. So it all like goes hand in hand with him. Like when you start doing that, then teams start to gas you in the pass game. Now you're looking for the run. Now you're like hesitating. It's like all of these things go hand in hand. And I really think that the Bengals defense isn't as bad as I think everybody thinks it is in the secondary area. It's the defensive line that gives them this trickle down effect that they're so bad. They're so awful in some of these spots. The fourth quarter of that Jets game is the worst thing you'll ever see in your life. And as a result, now you got guys like rookie Demetrius Knight now hesitating to go and just attack in the middle of a hole to go hit Breece Hall. And all of these different things go hand in hand with each other. And so then later on, now you got safeties and corners overcompensating in the run game. Now they're picking bad angles. Now you know what I mean? So like all the flaws of this whole team now are exacerbated by the fact that Miles Murphy, Shamar Stewart, they're projects. And the one thing I will say in the silver lining in all of this is the exact opposite of Burton. And you're watching it with Shedeur Sanders. They're like, why don't we play him? Why don't we see? Like, yeah, play him so you can see. The one thing that I always said is that you got to play the young guys and see what you got. I got a good enough sample size for Miles Murphy. I know what I got. I got a good enough sample size, you know what I'm saying, from guys like Josh Newton, CTB, all these different guys. Like, I know what I got. And now that you have that, either you make a move, make something happen. I don't know, but what happens to the season. But now the one silver liner I can tell you is we know what we got to do. Like, you need a complete overhaul on so many different facets, and the guys that we thought might be okay or we were unsure of, I think we know now.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the rest of the defensive line, Miles Murphy has struggled as well. He's got a sack and a half, 10 pressures on the season, 7 stops, but he just 11 solo tackles. He just hasn't lived up to what he's supposed to be as well. And some of that is the Bengals not putting him on the field immediately. Now he's got that chance. Him and Shamar just don't have an excuse as it stands right now. Chris Jenkins is another one that had to be more productive. Now we've got McKinley Jackson possibly having to come in the reserve role behind TJ Slayton. Defensive line has definitely been an issue for them. They've only had, I believe, 9 sacks total as it stands right now. So hopefully they can get more production from there. But without Trey Hendrickson, it just has not been a unit that's been able to do anything. And I feel like it's the same song and broken record that we say every year. Like, outside of Trey Hendrickson, they still do not have someone who can make an impact. You would hope that would spell a move being made by the Bengals. They do have 3 open roster spots. They still, as it stands right now, have not done anything with it. We'll have to see what they decide to do. But you know, the defensive line has to improve. I want to talk about the positives from the defense because there's not many, but DJ Turner, some of these guys in the secondary, I know some people are in and out on Jordan Battle. I think from a turnover standpoint, Jordan Battle has been great, but he has had some ups and downs here. Geno Stone has gotten some turnovers. He has even had a sack, but they've had blown plays. They've had lapses in coverage where they've been hit at. But I think that the secondary overall has kind of been the bright spot of this defense. But it just seems that the front 7 with those linemen and linebackers have just really kind of put a damper on the defense overall. But talk about the positives from the defense in terms of DJ Turner and some of those guys there.
I don't really have too many positives from the defense. It's the worst defense I've ever seen. I want to ask you a question, though. Do you think – I heard your positives. I will say this. Geno Stone and Battle when a throw comes their way and they got to catch it, how often do y'all see secondary members drop those? They don't. I will say I like that. But that goes to my next question. Do you believe that Geno Stone and Jordan Battle are starting safeties in the National Football League starting safeties for a good team?
For a good team, I think one of them would start for a good team. Yeah, I think that they could start for a good team. I think that we've seen Geno Stone also be the third safety, right? So, like when you say starter, I don't know how much you're meaning in terms of a snap percentage, but I know that he did play kind of that third safety role with the Ravens, and sometimes he played majority of the time.
That was what I was about to say.
I think Jordan Battle, the interceptions that he's had are good, but it's been tough to say who those communication issues fall on. I'm not in the huddle. I'm not talking to any of the players, so it's hard for me to say like that communication issue was Jordan Battle's fault. I don't know the defense. I don't know where the communication is breaking down at. Now, if it's on Jordan Battle or if it's on, Geno Stone, then that has to improve. But I think if you're talking about, it really like kind of depends. Like if you're talking about a team with an all-pro safety already there, then obviously only one of them would start, I think, in that scenario. But I think with Geno Stone, it's kind of situational. With Jordan Battle, I think he's played the better out of those two. At least he has more interceptions. So it's kind of hard to get interceptions. So I think that they still, because of that factor, I think he would still possibly start on some teams. I can't say for every team. Now, obviously, he's not starting for the Atlanta Falcons because they have two really good safeties. So any team that has two really good safeties, neither one of those guys, I think, would start. But I think
if Battle was paired with a good safety, then I think that his miscues wouldn't be as crazy. And I think the one thing that I walked away from the game, like when he didn't hit Justin Fields on that fourth down, I would say, well, like play him closer to the box and play him like how Von Bell was. And then you had Jesse Bates in the back. I just don't see him being consistent enough to play for like a good team. So to me, like when I say play the young guys, I walk out of this season thinking like, I think he's like another safety. The Geno Stone one, I think he's a third safety in the NFL. Like he would be amazing in dime packages and other big nickel roles where you have three safeties out on the field. I think Geno Stone is awesome for that. But as a safety that you're asking to consistently tackle or consistently like be where he's supposed to be and not take like these angles, I can't see it. I think Geno Stone is cool because he ain't dropping no picks and he's an outfielder. But Battle is too inconsistent for me to say that that's an answer long term. Same thing with Dax Hill. It's like sometimes he flashes, and then the next game, like last week, I mean, he looks bad. And I just think that no matter where you put him, that's just how he is. And all of these guys have one thing in common. And I was talking to my boy about this. Like, I think that they're all good guys. Like, there is no off the field weirdness with them. I'm not going to call them choir boys. I just think that they're good guys, good background and everything like that. And they're super smart. I know that Miles Murphy is super smart, but I don't know. And you coach basketball, I coach basketball as well too. A lot of the kids that are really smart, when they get out to the court, they aren't the smartest players. And it always messes me up a little bit because I'm like, hey, that kid's so smart. But sometimes certain stuff happens and the instincts the IQ is just off. Like Shamar, I think he's a really good kid too. But you see him getting turned around on different stuff. Same thing with Knight. I don't know if everybody's seen the play now. It's not viral, but it's a play where he's in pursuit. And I don't know if he knows that the running back, and he thinks the running back is about to go and throw a flea flicker. He just takes off and goes the opposite way. I don't know if y'all in the comment section see what I'm talking about. It's insane. But those are plays where you hear him talk, you're like, that's a smart dude. Why does he play so stupid? And I just think that a lot of them play stupid, and they're really smart people.
So I think if you're comparing Jordan Battle and Geno, I think Jordan Battle has been the better player because he is He is right now. Like, unless you consider Kevin Byard, they got him listed here as a DB. So I don't know if that means he gets to play corner and safety, or if he's just a safety. But if he isn't a safety,
He's a safety.
Jordan Battle is right after him in terms of interception. So you got Kevin Byard with 4, you got Jordan Battle with 3, and then you got to go all the way down to 33rd on the list to find Geno Stone. So he is, as a safety in the NFL, he does have one of the highest, outputs on that. He's tied with Kirby Joseph. He's tied with Jalen Petrie. He's also, I guess, Cameron Curl. He's got one more than him. So, I mean, I feel like he's made plays because, like, when I go back to that Steelers game, that Aaron Rodgers interception, that was a big play in that game. I don't know if Geno Stone – I don't know if I even remember the Geno Stone interception. Like, I'm not trying to hate on him.
I think it was week 1. I thought it was against the Browns. I think.
Yeah.
If it comes his way, you're gonna catch it. Like, the picks is one thing. That's why I said that. Like, that's the good. It's just too many bad angles on these tackles, bro. Like, when somebody gets out in space, I made a tweet about this too. But
I think that's everybody. I mean, they got 82 tackles, so it can't all just. It seems like that's just everybody. It doesn't.
Bro, they're specifically leading the National Football League in missed tackles. 3 of our players. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like, and they're. I don't know, bro. Like, I just think that every time I watch them, like in the fourth quarter, through the first quarter when it was 10-0, yes, everybody on point, like cooking up, doing whatever. Once the Jets figured out, like, hey, bro, these dudes really can't tackle that great out in spit. Like, they just went to work on it, bro. Like, and that the interceptions is one part of it. That's like telling somebody right now, like, bro, Logan Wilson, one of them dudes, bro. And then you go to the joint, just look at his interceptions versus other linebackers. But then when you go watch him play, you're like, bro, you ain't shedding not one block. You get pushed back. You look crazy. You look like a little cornerback the way that you play linebacker. Like, he doesn't shed nothing. He don't hit nothing. Demetrius Knight be flying around sometimes, but the hesitancy when Breece Hall cooked them up in that hole on that, like,
I just pulled it up. So Demetrius Knight has 12, Jordan Battle has 12, Geno Stone has 10.
Nasty.
Barrett Carter has 7, Logan Wilson has 7, Josh Newton has 7. Dax Hill has 4. Joseph Osai has 4. CTB has 4. So
the Bengals have 85 missed tackles. The next closest team has 25 less than them, and that's the Commanders at 50 something.
50 something. It's crazy.
The Bengals are the worst tackling football team I've ever seen, and I realized it last year when the Steelers game that we lost. If y'all ever want to see bad tape, go watch that one. All of these games this year look like that all again. Do you know that everybody has scored 27 points on us, with the exception of the Browns week 1? Everybody has scored 27 plus points. This defense is awful.
The other thing that I want to put in, now I'm not going to hold it against Shamar Stewart because his tackle rate is egregious, but he hasn't played that much, so I'm not going to hold that against him. But Josh Newton has a 38.9% missed tackle rate. He has missed 7 tackles out of it looks like, I'm not sure. It looks like he has 11 tackles, but apparently he's missed 7 tackles. And he has a very high rate when it comes to that. CTB as well, 21%. Cam Sample, 20%. Joseph Osai, 17%. Jordan Battle, 17%. Miles Murphy, 16%. Geno Stone, 16%. Demetrius Knight, 16%.
Tackling is
bad. Like, when you look at this, like, people got on Jermaine Pratt last year. His missed tackle percentage was 11%. So that just puts into perspective how bad those numbers really are when it comes down to it. They've got to be able to tackle, bro. And I feel like that's another thing that we're saying this year. We said that last year. We're saying it this year. New defensive coordinator. The issue has gotten worse, but it's still like a prevalent issue that they had. They said that we're talking too much and not getting to the super chats. Ben Raleigh said we asking Unc to do way too much, man. Flacco has been doing his job for the most part, even making Burrow proud. He don't play defense though. He's offense. Also, Lou said Bates leaving would be a dark day.
Yeah.
You have any comments to that?
Yeah. Nah, he cooking. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know the offense did his job. I mean, Jamar said it. I don't play defense. Like the offense. Your offense can't be required to be perfect. The defense has got to step up somewhat at some point to try to help them out. 80 says it's unbelievable how much this division is open for the taking. No more excuses for our team. We have to win. We have to win this game and continue to get better. Yeah, this is a must win because you're talking about a season where you can only at most, I think, take 8 losses. Yeah, to me, this is a must win, especially with the stretch that they have coming up. Fuzzy says, do they resign Trey? Trey will need a lower his year per average expectations. I mean, I thought this last year and this year. I mean, it shows, bro. When Trey Hendrickson isn't here,
We're nothing.
we are absolutely not.
I disagree, Fuzzy. I think the exact opposite. I think the exact opposite. If you don't have Trey, the argument would be, oh, well, you could go get a second round pick for him or whatever. A second round pick yielded you Chris Jenkins and Drew Sample.
Yeah.
Like, do y'all think that that's a real replacement for Trey Hendrickson? Listen, our fan base is so mixed up and confused on one thing. On one end, everybody is saying you need to just take what you can get for, like we did the whole thing with T. Higgins. Take what you can get for T. Higgins. Take what you can get for Trey Hendrickson. But the same people are the same people that acknowledge that the Bengals can't draft well. The same people will bring up Jesse Bates and Andrew Whitworth for the end of eternity. When I watch teams lose that caliber of player every offseason, like 100 times. To me, it's the nature of the beast. The problem is that they're not equipped to replace it. And the concept has to be for the Bengals, if they have anybody that's good under 31 years old for the end of time, do not let them go. They have to extend them, and then we can have a conversation about them when they get older because they are not capable of replacing it with the same type of person. You could be a person that's watching this right now and say, well, they need to blow the whole thing up, take the picks. Yeah, blow the whole thing up, but bring back Trey Hendrickson as the one constant that you say, I don't care who the defensive coordinator is, that's the one guy that I know that I can't replace, and I'm not about to allow another team like the Bills, a hot Patriots. The Patriots might be the hottest organization in football right now that have hella cap space. They would give you the pick, and they would sign Trey Hendrickson forever, and you would have to go watch him cook up and do everything that you wish that he would have did for the Bengals. I am not signing up for that, bro. I'm not. Maybe Trey at 34 years old, sure, but not right now, bro.
Nah, not. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's a no-brainer that they need to extend Trey Hendrickson. The defense lost its soul when DJ Reader left. I mean, that's been the issue, man. They lose some of these guys like Jesse Bates, DJ Reader, and I couldn't even imagine adding a Trey Hendrickson to that list, but they just have not been able to replace him. I mean, these are guys that have left. Mike Hilton, they haven't replaced him. I think they've kind of struggled even when it comes to that. But that's what the theme is. That's why I look at Duke Tobin. That's why I look at the front office and I say something has to change. Like these issues that have been prevalent, whether it was the offensive line, whether it's now the defense, these things keep on happening, and we don't have the free agency button that we can push anymore to help resolve the issues just because of the constraints of the money and how the roster is built. So we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully some of these kids can turn it around, but you know, the only way to fix it is to draft better. You got to be able to draft better. You got to be able to hit on these picks more. And that's what the pressure is when you didn't have the pressure when Burrow was on the rookie deal and Jamar still on the rookie deal and T still on the rookie deal, you can spend that money to kind of cover up, you know, any bad draft picks or anything like that. But now when you take that comfort away, Now is when you got to get in your bag in terms of the draft and hit on these guys and get guys that are going to give immediate impact. Like when we look at some of the guys like that the Lions have gotten, when you look at Branch and the linebacker that they ended up getting, his name escapes me right now, but those were instant impact guys. People criticized them at the time, like, why are you taking a linebacker 10th in the draft? Well, they took Jack Campbell because he was an instant impact player and they needed that guy to hit immediately, right? So, you know, the Bengals needed a Jahad Campbell. The Bengals needed a William Johnson. The Bengals needed, you know, an edge rusher that not necessarily was going to take time to develop. Like, that's not to say that Shamar Stewart is a bad pick. That's not to say that Miles Murphy is a bad prospect. But for this situation, they were a nightmare because this isn't a team that needs a guy that you have to wait 2 and 3 years for. This is a team that needs somebody to come in day one. They need an Abdul Carter level person to come in day one that's going to be an instant impact player. And they just don't have that right now. And that's the issue, in my opinion, of the guys that they drafted on defense. I think there was a similar situation with Chris Jenkins. I don't think Chris Jenkins was of the Walter Nolan mode, Kalijah Kancey mode that you could start day one. He had potential and he was a freak athletically, which that seems to be the common theme that they've done is they want these athletic, freakish talents, but they have to develop. And if you're not able to get the development out of them with a bad coaching staff like the Bengals have right now, you get what you have right now. And I think back to even like the Marcus Hunt thing, that's kind of the Duke Tobin line of thinking is I'm going to get these guys that are physical specimens that have all of this potential, but they need somebody to mold them into what that they are. And they don't have the motors. They just don't have it. Like, the coaching staff, in my opinion, isn't good enough. Like, to me, one of the issues that I've always had with Zach Taylor is some of the people that he hires, not all of them, because he's got some good people on his staff. So I'm not talking about everybody, but a lot of them don't have much experience. And so you've got these kids that are looking for somebody to help mold them, and the guys that are helping mold them don't have much experience. So you kind of get the situation and the circumstances that you have right now. Something has got to change about that process because Miles Murphy was a guy that they never threw on the field because they were still playing Sam Hubbard, because they were still playing Joseph Osai in front of him, because they were still playing Cam Sample in front of him. Now when you get him out there, this is year 3, and he doesn't have many reps. So I think that they have to set these guys up to succeed, and they've got to put some kind of system in place to help these guys. And if not, then you're going to have to get more polished players that are more ready to play immediately and have some sort of impact. I mean, we look at Xavier Watts right now, and I know I'm not trying to sit here and say that, you know, hindsight is 20/20, but Xavier Watts could have helped this football team. He stepped in day one in Atlanta and has been an instant impact player. Some people are even saying that he's the better safety between him and Jesse Bates. Those are the type of players that the Bengals need to be bringing in with instant impact. And hopefully one day they can get there. But right now it's looking like one of their best draft picks has been DJ Turner. DJ Turner is finally realizing, you know, his potential here in year. I think this is probably 3 for him. He's finally waking up and getting that. But where are your other guys? Like McKinley Jackson, where is he at? Like, you're expecting him to play a big role now. You were expecting him to fill the shoes of DJ Reader. That's not fair to ask somebody like McKinley Jackson to do that. You could have asked Tavondre Sweat to do that, but to ask McKinley Jackson to do that is just where I just don't understand what their thinking is. Like, this isn't a team that is a few years away from something. This is a team that's competing now. And maybe if you're in a situation like some of these teams that are rebuilding, like the Cardinals, the Browns, some of these teams that
I think we are that. I think we're that though. Yeah, you know,
you think we're that?
Without Joe Burrow, to me, 88% of the NFL is the same. That's why you had the 1 year Colts is up, you know, Vikings was up last year. Like, we're part of the mix. Without Joe Burrow, if you don't have one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, you really aren't different than any of these other teams. Like, you really aren't. When you say that we're contending right now, how? We're 3-5. Like, we're not contenders. Like, we're in the mix with everybody else. We're just Bengals fans.
I think if we would have won that Jets game and we get the ball and we get the team back to Joe Burrow, I think we're contenders. I think
that's asking a lot of a Joe Burrow coming off a turf toe. I think that's asking a lot of him being injured the whole entire season. You figure out a way to stay barely above 500, and then you come back. And yes, Joe Burrow does make us contenders, but as it stands right now, in how contracts are, where there's only 2-year guarantees max, whatever, I think the window, I've always said this, I thought the window closed when Joe Burrow hurt his wrist. We then had to go and open up a new one. I'm not saying that we're the Browns, but I'm just saying that all these men, like think about how Spaces was, right, when we were on it. Didn't every team feel as though like the Broncos, the Raiders do, all these dudes talking to us and being like, bro, we could beat y'all and talking all this cash money stuff, and we'd be like, bro, you ain't got no quarterback. But then they start naming all these players and all this. I'd be like, okay, so what? That's the Bengals right now. We're literally living in it. We just caught fire a little bit with Joe Flacco for a couple of games, trying to keep us afloat. But without Joe Burrow or an elite quarterback, I feel like our drafting is the worst in the NFL. Or like at the bottom of the NFL. Our free agency, I do like the one pushback I will give you on the McKinley Jackson one is I think he's better as a 3-tech. I think them getting Slayton and Chris Jenkins playing in that role is the role. That's why Pennell isn't here anymore, because he's like, oh, okay, y'all got y'all run stoppers. Chris Jenkins, BJ Hill, and Slayton, those are your run stoppers. And then like a McKinley Jackson or somebody like that, because he's got that lower center of gravity, he's kind of quick. I think they want him, if he can get active, rush the passer, give us 3-4 sacks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is he Frosty Rucker or something? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys too are low level picks that most teams don't hit on, but we've done it consistently, not hitting on picks. And then when we do hit on picks, like a Chase Brown, like nobody really cares about that, right? Because it's just like, so what? Like, you know what I mean? But we'll hit on some of those. Logan Wilson, that's a hit. There's a lot of different hits that a lot of teams haven't hit on, and we had success. But the problem that the Bengals have done, to your point, is consistently just put together bad draft after bad draft after bad drafts. So then when Joe Burrow's not there, it's not like a Lions situation. It's not, you know what I mean? Like where you actually have a good roster. So that's how I feel like we are like the Cardinals in that. I think the Cardinals defense is drastically improved. And then they went out and got their Marvin Harrison, and they got the probably second best tight end in football. So they went and got their weapons. But what are they missing? An elite quarterback. Like we're all the same. That's what the salary cap is for. That's why I don't like baseball. Like everybody's cheering against the Dodgers right now. I don't even know if they're playing tonight. Everybody hates the Dodgers right now because you could just go buy Ohtani and you could just go buy everybody. The beauty of football is that we're not supposed to be that far apart, and we all have strategies. The Steelers are idiots. They think that they're like that. They had 10 quarterbacks in 5 years. Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, and all them dudes, and they got the highest paid defense, and they're getting their ass cooked every week. They're not like that. They're no different than everybody else. The only difference is they can reference Super Bowls, and then they can wave a dumbass towel at games on Sundays. We're all the same if you don't have an elite quarterback, bro.
Fuzzy says could be worse. Dylan Gabriel could be our quarterback. With that being said, I'm going to toss it to Midwest Best Barbecue, our sponsor of the show. So we'll be right back.
Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. They was them hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. And much love to Mama T, Uno and CTB. MB's got Bengals wings, and now we just added T's. 9 to 5 winning things. Gritty for Uno wings. We say yes, Sirski now. Like Aces and be saying that T got them new wings. Only at MB's. Hot honey lemon peppers. Now you can call them T's. Hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins. Or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins. Or you say number 5.
That was nice. I ain't gonna lie.
Shout out Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. make sure you stop in and let them know Ace and Zim sent you. Even though the Bengals are up and down, the wings are still great at Midwest Best Barbecue. Make sure that you check them out. Got another super chat here from Ben Riley that says, no, we aren't. Our defense was one of the best in the AFC during our Super Bowl run and respectable the following year. Burrow can't compensate for the defense. Hell, our special teams was better too. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is. It's no sense in crying over spoiled milk. That 2021 defense is no longer here. A lot of those players are no longer here. They got to find a different way, bro. They have to find a different way to turn it around on defense, especially with Al Golden here. You know, Lou is doing his thing in Indy.
Yeah.
That ship is sailed, bro. You got to deal with the guys that are in the room right now and who you got on the roster, unless they make a move to trade for somebody. But
3-5, that's good. They should have listened to Zim and went and got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson like the Bears did. I think that's a dude that will come in here mean as hell, low risk. I know he's crazy as hell, but he ain't the choir boys and he ain't no softy. He hitting and he catching picks and he a menace. And he would have been for free 99 pretty much. Like that, I don't want craziness from the Bengals. But I do have a question I want to ask you. Bengals win this game and go 4-5. What is the temperature? What are you thinking that the Bengals are going to do? What are we feeling like? Or Bengals lose this game, go 3-6. What is the temperature? What's the next move?
If they are 4-5, they're still in it. So I think you go into the bye week, you try to rest up, get healthy, try to make this run. 2-6, I feel like you're cooked, bro. I'm gonna be 3-6. I feel like you're cooked at this point. I don't know if you're rushing Joe Burrow to get back because that means you can only lose 2 games really after that, and that might be me being generous. Like I don't know how this is gonna play out with the Ravens and the Steelers, but the big thing is you got other divisions that are playing well with better records. So it's not even your own division that you have to be worried about. So I think they're cooked at 3-6, bro. To be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to see, is the season, like say they win, am I making a big deal? Well, I know I'm not making a big deal out of that Jets loss. That's a horrible loss. But I just want to know, like, if we're 4-5, does trade conversations, do they come back up where, hey, let's go get a piece? You know, like, is that a conversation at that point?
I mean, at that point, it has to be because I think that week would be the last week before the trade deadline. So they would have to win this week to even consider it, I think, at that standpoint.
I think that they're at the perfect crossroads. There's a TikTok on for Bengals right now, a guy on TikTok that's outlining that the Bengals lost to the Jets, and then they went on the bye in Week 10, very similar to this season, and we went to the Super Bowl in 2021. It's a video that's been getting a lot of love, I think, and a lot of people are like, whoa, because there's a lot of similarities to the season. This season feels very different because the defense is so bad. But I do think that Jets game, the more and more I think about it, it just took a lot of wind out of my sails. So even if they were 4-5, I just think the argument to even make a trade, like say they were to get a Keon White, like that trade was done today. There's a lot of trades lately too. I want to point that out. I don't think that really does much for this Bengals team. I really don't. I think the interior rush is the real issue. And until Duke Tobin and company does what we were talking about on the last episode and go and make a real move and just say F them picks for this upcoming draft and just do like the Browns just came out of consecutive seasons with 3-4 picks and stuff. They drafted a whole bunch of bums the years prior, but just live with the fact that trade the second round for Quentin Williams or Jeffrey Simmons and just chalk the L up on Murphy, chalk the L up on some of these other guys like Dax. You picked up the 5th-year auction, but just chalk the L up and just say, bro, like we just gonna cut our losses, our ties right there. We're in a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins portion, which is a 2 to 3 year plan anyway. So we have to put something out there right now because the great thing, the silver lining, like I was saying earlier in the show, is that we got a chance to see what these guys look like. We got a chance to know that the rookie really isn't ready at linebacker. We got a chance to see that Josh Newton isn't a starting cornerback in the NFL. We got a chance to see a whole lot. We didn't see Burton. I wish they would play Burton because you can't afford to waste a third-round pick. That's a big-time pick. Like, that's the other part of this is crazy to me with the Burton and the hate that he gets is that people don't understand that if you miss on a third-round pick, that is nothing to poo-poo off of. Like, that's a big deal. So you need to see what you have. And I think that I think they're seeing what I'm saying. Knight is not ready. Barrett Carter, to me, is a little bit more ready, but he's in a wrong, you know what I'm saying? He would be the third linebacker. Like, you know that right now. That's the beauty of playing these guys. And I think even if they were to win, I would be on the table saying, let's go get Jeff Simmons, let's go get Quinnen Williams, because it would have to be somebody of that magnitude. And then you would say, Trey Hendrickson, get healthy through the bye, and we come back and cook the Steelers, and then we go 5-5. And then after that, the Joe Burrow conversation slowly starts to, ramp up. And now we're cooking. But to me, it just really knocked a lot of it. But I hope people go back and watch the show. You gave great information on the Bears offense. I gave a lot of tidbits on the Bears defense. This game is very winnable. I know that everybody's down on the team right now and the defense sucks. They're going to continue to probably suck for most of the weeks. But there are some ways that I do feel like the Bengals can win this game for sure.
Ben Raleigh, why don't you just do what the Rams say and F the cap, go for broke, and get a ring and then rebuild? I don't know, man. You have to, when you're doing all of that, you got to put your chips all in, and you gotta hit, bro, or else, you talking about people complaining about season ticket prices and stuff like that. If it doesn't work out, that it just is what it is. But I don't know. I feel like the Bengals did their own version of trying to do that. I'm not saying that they fully went in, like trading for some star picks, but I think they did a lot, bro, trying to make it happen for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, bringing back Trey. Would be nice if they could go and get a Quinnen Williams or a Minkah Fitzpatrick. We'll see what they do.
I mean, I don't look at it like that's not crazy to me because I think they understand the windows. See, other teams don't have our issue, and I know we got to close the show out. I'm just talking like so much. Listen, but the other teams don't have the same dilemma that we just had. Joe Burrow went out on Radio Row and said, I need these guys. We then signed these guys to these big old contracts, and I loved it for this reason. When you do that, you now can't just throw over. You can't just toss I saw when we first started the show. People were like, "Season's cooked, bro." The Bengals front office, if y'all think that they're cheap, there's no way that they're going to take the L on Noah Fant. There's no way that they're going to take the L on T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. Those contracts are too high. Even a Slayton is in that conversation too. Gesicki's in that conversation. There's no way that they are going to take the L on those contracts. Mind you, the Bengals didn't do craziness in free agency, but look at the dollar amounts on those contracts versus all these other teams that do have cap space. They spent a boatload of money on those guys, and they can't afford to throw away the season unless it's out of reach. If the season's out of reach and it's just done, you got to just take your L. But as long as they're in contention, they have to do that because it makes no sense. Traded for Flacco. It makes no sense to do all of that and just be like, I'm one game behind first place Steelers. F the season. Like, you can't, like, that makes no sense. That's the part that I think people got to understand. Like, dive into the mental side of like what, even if you think the front office is horrible, they're not spending $300 million, 70 million between two wide receivers and just saying, oh well, we just gave them what they wanted. Like, I don't know. I don't think that that's realistic. I don't. And other teams don't have that same dilemma, so they could toss in it. Like, Jets could do that to a certain extent. They're paying nothing for Justin Fields. Like, they could trade off pieces and be like, yeah, we'll regroup. Browns are just insane, so they could do that stupid stuff because they already, taking L after L anyway. So I just don't think the Bengals can afford to do that unless they lose to the Bears. And then they're mathematic, Like, it starts to get eerie for them, and we're just sitting here like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Cincinnati podcast. The Bengals will play this weekend. Definitely be sure to check out Jake and Mon for what they do on the Bengals post. I know they've been having lives right after the game. So make sure that you tap in with them. But make sure if you are watching on YouTube, you hit this video with a like. We appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure that you follow us on Twitter at the Cincinnati Pod. And thank you guys again so much for tapping in. We'll see you next time. Coming up on the Cincinnati Podcast.
Hello, world. Cincinnati. You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.